Okay, so for number 7, we are going to create common denominator. So we have 2x, quantity x plus 7. So on the right side, we need the 2x. On the left side, we need the x plus 7. It might help to use different colors or how I underline them to make sure I see the squiggle on both sides and that line on both sides. So then we have this common denominator. We multiplied the 3 times 2x, and make sure you look at the sign. It's positive 3 times 2x, so it's positive 6. And we distribute x plus 7 to 1, and we have x plus 7 right here. You can put over the same common denominator, or we like to call it our LCD, least common denominator. And x plus 6x gets us the 7x plus 7, so this is our numerator from up here, simplified. Then, before I cross multiply, I like to factor. Okay, so then when I factor, I took out that 7 and the top numerator, and I cross multiplied in the blue, and this is what I got. And then I cross multiplied in the green, and this is what I got. And then I can cancel out an x on the left and the right, so I right away just cut it out. And remember, you put your fingers over the parentheses. You want to make sure no plus or minuses. Anything outside, then you can cross off, as long as there's no plus or minuses between terms, right? This is -1 times the quantity 2x. So there's no plus or minus in between, so we're able to cancel out the x's. That's it. So then we're left with, if we distribute over here, we're left with 7x plus 1 is equal to, 7x plus 7 is equal to -x minus 7. And then we'll get our x's on one side. So if I add this x to the left, I get 8x. If I subtract that 7 to the left, I get -14. Oops, back up a few steps. So again, on the left side, I do get 7x plus 7. And then on the right, I get -x minus 7. Actually, just kidding, I screwed that up again. I get -2x because I'm distributing the -2. -2x minus 14. So then, again, if I added this 2x to the right, I get 9x. And on the left, if I subtract 7, I get -21. I divide by 9. And these both divide by 3, so we get -7/3. Okay, so for the next one, I look at the numerator of the left, and I can factor, and I get x minus 4, x plus 3, and then the denominator can divide out a 3, so I get 3 times the quantity x plus 3, and up here, I get let's see what multiplies to -20. That adds to b, the middle 1. We know that it's 5 and 4. Since it's +1, the negative needs to be with the 4. So right down here, I would get the x plus 5, x minus 4. Now, on top, x plus 5. And the reason I said down in the denominator is because we changed division to multiplication and we flipped this fraction on the right. So that's why the x plus 5 went on top and the factors for this trinomial went on the bottom. We extend that line. Make sure you put parentheses around x plus 5. We don't want plus or minus between terms, and we cross off x plus 5. We cross off x minus 4. We cross off x plus 3. Nothing's left on top, so we're going to put a 1 as a placeholder and 3 on bottom. So our answer is 1/3. Okay, so for number 9, we factor the denominators to try to find an LCD. So quantity x minus 7, nothing factors out, we put parentheses around it. The right denominator we can factor out of 4, and then we have x minus 7. So both sides already have that x minus 7, but we need that 4 on the left side, so we multiply the numerator and denominator by the 4. So that gets us on both bottoms 4 times x minus 7. On top, we have 4 times 5x, or 20x, and then the right numerator is 2x. And then you can combine like terms because they have the same denominator, and if we combine the like terms on top, we get 22x. Now there's no plus or minus between terms, So on top, we have 22, which is 11 times 2 times x. In the denominator, we have 2 times x minus 7. As long as there's no plus or minus between terms, we can put our finger over the parentheses so we have no plus or minus on the denominator. In the denominator, we can cross off our 2's. So on top, we have that 11x, and the denominator, because we had actually 2 2's, 2 times 4, we have 11x on top and 2 times x minus 7 on bottom. Sorry, it's a little messy. It's hard to type with your finger, or right, I should say. So again, adding, subtracting, those problems are a little bit harder and more tedious. So the right fraction has only x plus 7 in the denominator, put parentheses around. The left side has x minus 3. So we need x minus 3 on the right, so we multiply the right denominator and numerator by x minus 3. And on the left side, we need the x plus 7, so we multiply the numerator and denominator by that. Remember, you leave your denominator factored. On top, we need to distribute and combine like terms. So for the left numerator, we have 2 times x plus 7. And for the right numerator, we have that negative 1 times x minus 3. There's a plus or minus still in the numerator, so we can't cancel out yet. We need to distribute on top. So 2 times x plus 7 becomes 2x plus 14. Distribute the negative 1. Make sure it becomes negative x and positive 3. We distribute the negative to both. On top, we need to combine like terms. So 2x minus x gets us x. 14 plus 3 gets us 17. Now put parentheses on the top because nothing factors out. There's nothing that cancels on top and bottom, so we're left with quantity x plus 17 over x minus 3, x plus 7. Okay, so for number 11, remember you need one fraction on the left, one on the right before you cross multiply. And you're only cross multiplying when it's an equation, okay? That's the only time you cross multiply. So first we need one fraction on the left. So we need to multiply the left side by quantity x plus 2, top and bottom, the right side by x minus 6, so that we have the same denominator of x minus 6 times x plus 2. On top, we distribute and combine like terms. So when we distribute, on the left we get 2x plus 4. And when we distribute on the right, we get 7x minus 28. So when we combine like terms, 7x and 2x, we get 9x minus 24. Actually, sorry, when we distribute on the right, we get 7x minus 42. So then, okay, so I have to go back a few steps. I made some basic math errors. So over here, when we factored out on top, we got 3 times 3x minus 13. And because you have to go backtrack, and 4 minus 42 should be negative 38. Anyway, so I get everything on one side. I have 5x on the left, 40 on the right, divided by 5, so we have x equals 8. Now, one thing you should notice, that this is Ms. Syed's sheet, one thing that you can do is if the denominators are the same, once you have one fraction equals another, if you just cancel out, you're left with the numerator. And so that's essentially what she did up here. She was able to skip steps. So we'll do that from now on, because when you cross multiply, the factors are going to cancel. So if the denominators are the same for equations, you can just cancel out if you have one fraction equal another. So for this next one, we'll use that technique. So on the left side, when we make a fraction, we just need to multiply left side by 2 because they already have x plus 7. And then if we distribute on top, we get the 6x minus 8 over the 2 times x plus 7 denominator. And then on the right side, as long as the denominators are all the same on the bottom row, on the right side, if we multiply by 2 on top and 2 on bottom, then the denominator would be the same as the one fraction on the left. So then the denominator would swipe out, and on the top we would just have 6x minus 8 is equal to the top over here, negative 22 times 2, negative 44, and then we solve, and it's much easier and faster, and we get x equals negative 6.